Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Statement Podcast. It's a podcast for investigations into miscellaneous tech topics.
This is our 14th episode on Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. We'd love to hear from you. Send your comments and feedback to team@thkp.co.
Hey, John. What's going on?
Hey, Matt. Nothing really new on my end. How about yourself?
Yeah, just getting into the end of the semester.
Yeah,
it's the end of
dude,
semester
you got finals
3
coming up.
Yeah, I got finals. Got 2 finals.
Nice.
I am woefully underprepared. So
what is the Scopes monkey trial?
Oh,
is that even a thing you talk about?
That's actually an interesting question. Was that an actual like judicial?
I thought
trial?
I'm probably misremembering, but I thought it was the evolution.
It was
thing.
Williams Jennings Bryant, right? William Jennings Bryant. Was that he one of them?
Yeah. Maybe Clarence Darrow and anyway, I shouldn't have brought it up because I don't actually know what it is. I thought it was like the evolution thing where a teacher tried to teach evolution.
Oh,
and they were
okay. Yes, Scopes, State of Tennessee versus John Thomas Scopes.
What was the subject matter? Was it evolution?
Human evolution. Wow.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay,
Very
that's
good.
like a weird, I don't know,
Good.
weird little
Deep
nugget in my
memory.
memory, I guess.
Yeah, William Jennings Bryant was he argued for the prosecution, and then Clarence Darrow served as the principal defense attorney. Wow, so by our powers combined,
we vaguely remember historical facts.
One metric Scopes monkey trial.
Dude, have I talked about how I used to love... There was this brief era where I was alive, and anyone younger than me doesn't remember this probably. But there was this period where you used to just not know things, and you and your friends would sit around and be like, man, do you remember what the Scopes monkey trial was? And people would be like, oh, I think it was like Barry Goldwater? Because, no one knows who Barry Gold... And anyway, you would just sort of do sort of what we just did, except you wouldn't then be able to look it up at the end. So you'd kind of...
You'd be like, all right, well, guess we'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But anyway.
But no, I mean, my understanding is the Guinness Book of World Records, Guinness is the same thing as the beer, and it was made so that people, drunk people in the bar could look up random facts or something.
Yeah. No, it used to actually be a fun exercise to try to remember reality with your friends.
Well, I also remember a time before we had Twitter.
My God.
Now that was definitely one of my clumsier transitions, but I don't know. We had to get there somehow.
I'm glad you transitioned. No, it was a happier time before Twitter existed, and especially before Elon took over, because, I think Twitter was good when it was woke. I like woke.
Do you tweet? Are you a twit?
No, I'm not a twit. I'm a twit in some regards, but no, I don't use Twitter at all. I've literally never posted a single tweet.
Wow.
And the only tweets that I've read are ones that were copied into other social networks. I just don't like the premise. I don't like the whole 250 character thing. I think it's part of the dumbing down of the human race, where everyone wants everything to be packaged into a tiny little nugget, and it's a lot of things just can't be packaged that way.
Are there even any limits these days, though? Because they raised it, right? Because it was originally 140, and then they raised it to 280, I think, and then now don't people regularly, or they write a super long thread in another piece of software that just breaks it down into the... It's just why?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. There's no limits, but it's part of a mentality of the platform, or sort of I would say it's a philosophy of the platform that I just utterly disagree with.
Yeah. So,
but my political beliefs aside, Elon loved Twitter. He thought it was the place for public discourse.
Yeah. Originally he was I don't need to see people's, latte order. But then he got turned around and he started sending, it was 20,000 or 19,000 tweets over the course of 10 years.
Jesus.
Which
That's crazy.
That works out to be at least 5 tweets a day on average, which that seems like an insane amount of tweeting.
Yeah, a lot of these chapters make me wonder if Musk was like just manic, like utterly, because he seems unhinged during certain points.
He basically, Walter Isaacson basically comes out and says that he was on a manic episode when he was like, all right, I'm going to buy Twitter. And like, meanwhile, all of his businesses are like humming along perfectly. Like they're hitting these amazing milestones.
Yes, 1 trillion. Tesla hit 1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
Insane. All of his companies are billion plus. Even the Boring Company, which what the fuck? I mean, what has the Boring Company even done? They just have that mile-long tunnel.
That's what I don't understand. How could it possibly be worth $5.6 billion?
I think it's all hype. This is something that Elon understands that is part of what I guess is impressive about him is he's just able to like create this weird vibe, you know, around things. Because like really, the Boring Company, they sold flamethrowers and burnt hair smelling cologne. And
did they actually wind up selling that?
Yeah, they mentioned that in a later chapter, but it's just crazy to me that it's you know worth that much. But Neuralink also worth $1 billion, I think it said. So he's just doing really, really well in terms of his career and his companies.
But so they offer. He's talking with the CEO of Twitter. It's this guy named Parag Agrawal.
Or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, and he gets an offer to be on a board, to have a seat on the board, essentially.
Yeah. Right.
And they initially are like, you can't say anything disparaging about the company, and you know, which obviously it's ironic because his whole thing, he's just like a ostensibly a free speech absolutist and a free speech crusader.
His big thing was Trump, actually. Trump getting kicked off the platform. He was extremely, which I kind of agree with him. Like, as stupid, and I don't know, I feel two ways about it. Like, I really dislike that Trump can send out a single tweet and all of a sudden a bunch of people are like doing hateful things or sort of get riled up. But I also think that a platform like Twitter overusing its ability to censor people is a problem. And so I don't know, it's hard. I think that's the issue with these things is there's so much nuance and so many reasons to censor, so many reasons to not censor. And if you're Elon, like a free speech absolutist, kind of like Mark Zuckerberg, like you just always hate censorship. And I don't think it's as simple as that. In any case, I just found it was interesting that was like his main, you know, one of the main issues he was annoyed at.
Well, the thing that really got Trump kicked off of Twitter was the January 6th riots, right? Like
exactly.
He kind of incited a low key rebellion against the Capitol, like an insurrection. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's the classic thing where you're not allowed to yell fire in, like, that's the classic limitation on free speech.
Right.
You're not allowed to put something that's going to or say something that's going to imminently endanger a large number of people.
I think that Trump would make the argument that all he was saying on Twitter was like true things and that the American people stepped up because they realized, you know, some injustice was taking place. And anyway, I'm sure Trump would find some way of twisting what he said on Twitter around.
Yeah, I mean, though, like we have a method of adjudicating what is true in this, you know, in the legal system, arriving at whether or not something was true. And I'm not saying that that's actually the case, but if that's his claim, then he lost on in all of the domains. He filed 60 some odd lawsuits claiming fraud, and he lost all but one of them essentially. So.
Oh, he actually won one of them?
There was something. I know he got some win. I don't know exactly what the nuance of that was, but I do remember there being he almost lost all of them, but it was not like 100%. But it was some like technicality. And so I guess my point is that like it doesn't seem like an overreaction to and yeah, like maybe that's the argument, but like by the best tool we have to arrive at like a true conclusion about something, which is the legal system, like that wasn't true. So I guess if I'm thinking about it through my lens, like that's a reasonable reason to kick someone off. But I was thinking about that.
Well, and I'm certainly not arguing that there was any truth to the January 6th insurrection. I mean, that was just a completely like heinous event in American history. I think where I stand is like these platforms do carry a tremendous amount of power in who they, censor and who they decide to promote, like which posts they decide to promote. Like, Elon disliking the censoring of Trump was part of his larger disdain for this super woke, or what he perceived to be Twitter promoting like liberal ideas and liberal, thinking. And yeah, I just think I think in some regards, Elon is right. Like, I think the platform probably was very liberal, but I also believe that those platforms generally become liberal because liberals tell the truth and liberals give scientific, basis for what they're saying. And, in our country today, Republicans generally just spout nonsense. And so their posts get downgraded. And so I think there's I don't know. I think it's just the type of thing where the simplicity of how Elon approaches these things carries some amount of truth to it. But I almost think he's looking at the world in too simple of terms.
Right. Yeah. I think that's right. And I think there is an interesting question, which is you get a big group together, are they going to just innately trend towards liberalism? Is that just like something that happens? Because you could stand and be like, well, the fact that the whole platform is trending towards these liberal ideas is evidence of this shadowy cabal who's controlling the algorithm.
Yeah.
But it could be just as true that this is just a natural impact of people sharing their ideas.
Yeah.
And
well, I think it's part of the Republicans' rejection of science, where any institution that has science as its basis, which is basically going to be any successful institution, because science is literally the only way to, the only way to find truth in the universe. Like educational institutions, those are by and large massively liberal, and
right.
And it's just become that way because Republicans have slowly started to distance themselves from scientific thinking and just be closer and closer to this like almost fanatical religious thinking. And so but anyway, I feel like I'm going off the rails here. Like maybe we proceed with the material.
Yeah, let's keep on going. So anyway, if we're picking up where we left off. So he's on the board. He's not having much success impacting how things are going. So
right.
where do we go from there? How does he start attempting to buy?
So he basically tells the board to expect a takeover. Like he sits in on one or two board meetings. Like you're saying, he feels like he has no power. He tells the board to expect a takeover. He plays Elden Ring until 5:30 a.m., which I thought was a funny thing to mention. One of his friends asks him plaintively, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
Like he's just genuinely confused why Elon would like do this. Elon finds some way of convincing himself that buying Twitter is actually part of his mission to make humans interplanetary
this
or
is
multiplanetary.
Pure delusion.
Yeah, this is where, like, I wrote a note in my notes. I wrote, he just seems insane to me. Like, it just seemed like there was no rationality to his thinking. His friends were kind of like, what are you doing? And he was just doing these crazy things and then sort of like convincing himself after the fact that it was like all part of his master plan.
I think Walter Isaacson calls it here. His is the amusement park theory, which is basically Twitter is fun. Is a fun thing for him to own. Yeah. And even though, because, you know, there is some logic where he's like, well, I'm worried about society, and in order for society, like for my businesses to continue to exist, like I need society to continue existing. So Twitter, like I need to own Twitter to help ensure that society continues to exist. And it's like, maybe that's true, but it's just like so remote. Like the impact, like the impact on what your actual goals are is just so tenuous that it's like, you know, as to be farcical, I think, really. You know.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
If he actually is attempting to make himself believe that. But
yeah. One of my favorite parts in this series of chapters was when he hopped on a call with Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh, God. That's when you know, like, I mean, obviously at the time, I guess he was like the Warren Buffett of Bitcoin.
Yeah, he was the wunderkind.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. So the whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing just cracks me up. But anyway, they hop on this call because part of Elon's idea for Twitter is that it should be on the blockchain.
Right.
Which I don't fully understand this. I guess it's just so that, like, everything you say is tied to you, and it's sort of like you cannot delete things. So it just sort of becomes a part of this, like, permanent thread of human conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't fully get why blockchain is required to achieve that, or like what the blockchain actually gets you. Maybe I just don't understand blockchain.
I'm actually really glad you're bringing this up because I don't know if you've heard of something called Urbit. Have we talked about this before?
Urbit? No.
Oh, no. Crazy. So Urbit is this really interesting idea put out by this really controversial guy, Curtis Yarvin. And he basically reinvented all of like computing kind of from the ground up. He starts with this is super simple fundamental language. It's like this, like it's their assembly language, and then he builds on top of it, and then I think the point of it is, yeah, there's really no way to delete anything. It's all like additive. You only like ever append things, but if you have a reference to something, then that's always good. There's no way for it to be removed or what have you. So anyway, the big thing is decentralization. So like you have your own little world and you can interact with other people, but there's no one person that's controlling, there's no Twitter out there who's saying like, okay, there are no arbiters of who gets to say what.
So it's everyone on the platform, like the truth, instead of the truth being inside of a Twitter data center, the truth is like on everyone on the platforms, sort of living in their memory.
In order to be on and this is kind of why it's like blockchain, because in order to be a part, you need to run a server essentially.
Yeah. And you need to have the entire, the entire like list of every transaction.
Right. And
ledger is the word.
Right. And I think that they had a way to not need it so that you had every single message anyone had sent to anyone. But I think in V1 that was true, but
it just seems stupid. Like it seems like an unnecessary. I guess from a purely like principle point of view, it is kind of awesome. Like the idea that, even Twitter itself is not the source of truth. But, just seems like a over complication for no reason.
Yeah, I mean,
because you can provide most of those guarantees just by
Bitcoin and think about Ethereum. Like, they really are dependent upon the decentralization, right?
Yeah. It makes a lot more sense to me for a cryptocurrency, because a currency is something that you don't ever want, that you don't ever want someone to like fully control it. So I don't know. Maybe it also makes sense for something like Twitter, where if you view Twitter as like, this source of human truth or something, then maybe it does make more sense.
But then my question becomes like, should the government be able to shut that down, or is it just that someone should just be punished after the fact?
What are we punishing people for? Twitter,
so
like,
if we're
going back, post.
Yeah, so because you can think of this in two different ways, right? If someone says something that puts the lives of others at risk, you punish them, like you toss them in jail, but you don't let them, because I guess it's funny because if you think about the parallel of someone shouting fire in a crowded movie theater. Yeah. We don't presumably sew their mouths shut. Or we don't like cut their voice box out.
Right.
Right? So why should they be cut off the platform then? Shouldn't the punishment just be enough to disincentivize them from doing those truly illegal acts?
So is this going back to like, someone like Trump, like censoring him from the platform?
It is kind of going back, but so maybe this is like, we're just retreating. But I guess I'm now thinking about it more, and maybe I'm getting back to the point that like we shouldn't be deplatforming. But anyway,
that's where I kind of stand, is like, I think that Twitter holds an unreasonable amount of power in that they can just suddenly kick someone off the platform. And it's like, someone like Trump, his entire livelihood is like his ability to access his people or his community or his fans, right, or whatever the hell. And so deplatforming him is basically like, it's kind of like destroying him in a way that feels kind of unfair. Even though I like despise Trump, I like absolutely loathe Trump and think he's like a complete sleaze, I still think it's just a tremendous amount of like power that Twitter has to deplatform him.
Right, right.
But yeah.
But anyway, speaking of Trump, did you see this part? There's in chapter 74. It's called "Hot and Cold." He makes a joke to his children, or a joke, quote unquote, where he says, "How else are we going to get Trump elected in 2024?"
Yeah. I hate it.
It didn't wind up turning into a joke after all.
Yeah. So this was this Hot and Cold chapter was about him getting other investors. He got Ellison, the Oracle guy, to invest. Mm-hmm. He has this conversation with Sam Bankman-Fried where they both think the other is crazy, mm-hmm, which I just absolutely love that. He talks to this was an interesting part. He talked to the Twitter people and basically asked them these kind of basic questions about Twitter, like why are there so much server costs? Mm-hmm. And how do you know which accounts are legitimate versus which accounts are bots? And they kind of can't give him good answers to those questions, which I actually found myself agreeing with him a little bit, that like they should know the answers to these questions. These are like pretty important business questions. And so, Elon starts to waffle on this deal because mm-hmm, he's like, first of all, he thinks the economy's headed for a recession. So he's worried that the price that he bought in at is horrible. And he's also kind of like, this is a sinking ship. I don't necessarily want to be a part of it, So he's kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, he's really getting cold feet about this, apparently.
Yeah.
And then actually, I wonder if it makes sense. So just to pause for a second, I did read the first chapter of the next section. So I'm wondering, actually, do we want to? Because we're at 25 minutes. We could talk about we could talk about uncertainty Twitter, where because they talked about him like actually attempting to back out of the deal and then he gets sued. So maybe we
like skip over like Father's Day and
then actually end the episode and then come back and then make do another or record another episode of like Father's Day, Starbase Shakeup, and Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, that uncertainty chapter kicks off with him trying to get out of the deal.
Yeah.
And for the reasons that we were just talking about, like there's no good data, but his lawyers recommend to him to stay off Twitter. They basically say, okay, if you want to get out of the deal, we can come up with a legal justification, but just don't go on Twitter and undermine yourself. So what does he do? He goes on Twitter immediately and undermines himself. He makes a joke about buying Manchester United.
I know. I didn't understand. Did you understand why this joke like or caused troubles in the?
I mean, I don't understand the laws behind like billionaires purchasing companies.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why that would have any effect on him purchasing Twitter, but I would imagine it would make a judge be less sympathetic to Musk.
Yeah.
If he was, trying to bring a suit to get him out of this purchase deal. So maybe his lawyers were just mad at him from that regard.
Oh yeah. I'm sure they were just insanely frustrated because it's just so self-defeating, and indeed it screws him over. He has to do the deal. And one of the things that was so interesting to me about this section, this uncertainty, chapter 78, is they talked about the fact that they were attempting to negotiate a lower price, but the problem was that in the intervening time, the interest rates had gone up. So, like, they already had a guaranteed interest rate at this lower amount. So, even if they negotiated a moderately lower level of actual price, it wouldn't matter because the interest rates had gone up in the intervening time. So
they pay way more interest,
which is just hilarious to me. Just how much impact interest rate, like they really do control everything. It's just how like the world works.
It was a good tiny example of like why interest rates have such a huge effect on literally everything.
Yeah.
So I like that section. There was a hilarious section. So he was in Mykonos in Greece, I guess, with one of the Emmanuels. It wasn't Rahm Emanuel.
Is he the brother of?
Yeah, I think it's like
Rahm
a family
Emanuel.
Of like
crazy.
prominent randos. But anyway, so he's in Greece hanging out with one of the Emmanuels, and there's this. It was like a wedding or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he sits down at the table, and Larry David is at the table. Larry David, the creator of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And Larry David said something along the lines of like, "What do you enjoy killing children?"
Oh my gosh! Yeah, out of completely apropos of nothing.
Yeah, which is just like so Larry David. But anyway, it was a commentary on how during this time.
Also, Larry David officiated at the wedding.
Yeah, which I love. I mean, I would love for Larry David to officiate my wedding. It's badass.
Definitely be a vibe.
But he was basically calling Elon out for being such a Trump sycophant because he viewed the things like the Uvalde shooting as being part of a larger like inability of politics to deal with the gun crisis in America.
Right.
Which is a very fair true
criticism
thing.
Yeah,
it's a very fair criticism, and I would argue that there's more people on the right who are dropping the ball on that particular issue.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's kind of everything I had for for these chapters. Did you have anything else?
There's one last thing. One thing I wanted to mention is just that gross picture of Elon Musk with this Emmanuel guy. I thought that picture was funny. But then the last real thing I wanted to mention was this offer that Emmanuel sent to Elon, where he basically offered to run Twitter for like a fee of like $100 million or something. I can't remember what the fee was, but Elon turned him down because he wanted Twitter to be like bottoms up engineers. He was like, no, I don't want my company to be run by like, these super competent businessmen, which I guess Emmanuel, ran some other company. He was like a so-called very competent business person, but Elon didn't want that. He wanted Twitter to be, completely run, designed, and led by engineers, which I just thought was interesting.
Yeah, I happen to believe that's true, that engineer-led companies actually do better.
I mean, I think a lot of engineers just have a way of thinking that is very useful to problem solving in general. And if you're a CEO just solving problems all day, that can be useful. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously biased because I am an engineer, but I do think engineers can be really good runners of companies.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I guess I'm just even thinking of, Facebook and Google or Alphabet now and Microsoft. These were all companies where the engineering talent was the leadership. I guess OpenAI is kind of an interesting example because what is his name? What is the CEO?
Sam Altman.
Sam Altman, because he's not fundamentally an engineer, right?
Yeah. What is he? What is his?
I think he's
background?
like an entrepreneur, basically. I mean, I think he does have some tech background, but I wouldn't consider him like an engineer-led.
He's more of a Jobsian leader.
I think that's fair. Yeah, which I guess Apple is a good example of more of a design-led company.
Yeah, but Apple. The problem with the design-led company is you need the Wozniak.
Yes.
I think this is what people don't understand about Apple is people like Steve Jobs. I almost said they're a dime a dozen. No yeah. Well, and I don't want to take anything away from Steve Jobs because I do think he's an impressive.
I would love to take everything from Steve Jobs.
Well, I mean, he's dead. Yeah, everything was taken from him by his inability to go see a doctor. He just wanted to eat melon instead. But anyway, I think
Jobs estate is going to come after you for slander.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of hot takes this episode.
Yeah? No, you've been keeping it spicy.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of people like Steve Jobs. Like a lot of people with these really amazing ideas that could work. But if you don't have the Steve Wozniak to actually build that shit, you're going to fail. Yeah. And so I think that's what people don't realize about Jobs is like, if he didn't have, and this is true for any CEO, I guess, but it's like, if they don't have that support structure, you wouldn't know their name.
Yep. True. All right. Let's wrap it there, and I will see you next time for Father's Day.
See you next time, Matt.